So, Dr. Kathleen, how are you? Good to see you on the show.
Good to be here. So I'd like to share some secrets today, and they really shouldn't be secrets. They should be well known by everyone, but unfortunately that just isn't the case. Things about acupuncture, and I've been doing this forever. Here's a picture of me back in about 82 on the front cover of the Santa Barbara paper. I was the first acupuncturist there. And here I'm treating my daughter, using her as a model for the photograph. And this is about 36 years ago. Now she's the mother of two. So that's how long I've had to really develop a way of treating that I find is very unique. And this book talks about the beginnings of acupuncture. This was written by Dr. Kathleen Rosenblatt, MD, about how we started it in our living room. And I helped design the cover of this, Acupuncture in America. And the best thing about acupuncture is that it really is working on the deeper level of the body, the light body, all the electromagnetic laser beams that are going on in our body, that it's not just meat and potatoes and plumbing, but that we're dealing with fields of energy that really exist in every cell, every luminous cell, that there's a little photon in every cell. And I try to get people to visualize their body that way, rather than just a lot of organs that kind of work together. But, you know, you go to a specialist for one organ and another building for another organ. And, you know, it's just crazy. Whereas this is closer to what we're really dealing with. This is the chakras that in India, they understood that there's these energy fields. And we have the lower one, which is more to do with our tribe and our family. And then we have the higher ones that are much more open to humanity and to the higher elements. And these elements, these colors, are very real. And the acupuncture meridians actually are birthed at these points. That when we're an embryo, the meridians come out from those points. And I spent a lot of time writing a book about a French writer who studied India, studied Hindu poetics, and studied Sanskrit. And so a lot of his information has invested into my way of treating. Here's even the French version of it that was published in Paris. And so this is so important because I really do a holistic treatment. And here you see the plan, you see the map of these avenues of energy. These are like the freeways. This is where the energy gets organized into the electrical wires. You know, there's the liver meridian and the lung meridian and the large intestine meridian and the stomach meridian. These are like the wires that connect to your hair dryer or your dishwasher. Every organ has a little connection, but they're also connected to each other, so that there's a very vast science of acupuncture of how to manipulate the energy. If you get too much in the stomach and you get heartburn, and then there's not enough someplace else. And these imbalances and these irregularities show up on the face, so that there's a way of treating the face and making it look prettier just by working on the organs. And likewise, these lines, we can use the face as a diagnostic tool. We can study the lines. You know, where do they have bags? Where do they have jowls? Where do they have furrows? And these things can help us understand how to treat the body, so that someone ends up looking younger because they actually are younger. We've actually enhanced those organs and made them sturdier and stronger and younger for all practical purposes. So we're trying to use every tool we can. And here's a picture of me treating a dog who was completely paralyzed on his back legs. And I'm using an instrument that I have with me right here. It's an electromagnetic field stimulator. And it can, work on any part of the body that needs help. And here I'm using it on the dog. And it took 6 treatments for this dog to be walking. 2 treatments, he was able to stand up at home. And it was just marvelous. And when I lecture, I often will invite people up for just 3 minutes to try this for 3 minutes. And virtually every person feels better, whether it's their low back or their knee or their hip. I lectured in French recently in Paris. And I had 2 women who came up and were depressed. And I thought, oh, my God, what am I going to do in 3 minutes for depression? They were transformed. They couldn't believe it. They felt like they had just taken a huge burden off, huge load off their body. They became patients, and I was able to really help them. So this is an example of how we can help. Now here's a kind of a strange photograph and this is the stagnant blood that many of us have on our back, especially up near the neck and shoulders. And there's a way of creating a friction rub that is totally painless, actually feels good, and it pulls up the stagnation where we think our blood is circulating. And look, this is a guy who just had a lot of stress and tension back there. And it only happens if it is actually stagnant. You could rub and rub and rub and it'll just get pink. But when it comes up like that, stagnation, that means that fresh blood has already come in to those muscles so that he immediately feels better. It might look a little weird for a day or 2 or 3, depending on how bad his circulation is, but it really, really helps. And you've seen the cupping marks on Gwyneth Paltrow and Jennifer Aniston and Mark Phelps, the swimmer. The cupping is a similar operation, a similar technique to pull that blood out. And then, of course, the ear is an outcropping of the brain. So we can treat every problem in the body, but particularly the mental and emotional problems, because this is a way of going into the appetite center and the habit control center, the obsessive dependencies of drugs or alcohol or overeating. And you can see there the skull down at the lobe, and then the hands and the legs, so that the whole body is represented. And it's an amazing, amazing way to treat patients with just the ear. And so I try to incorporate this treatment with or without acupuncture needles. I get plenty of results just with this alone, but with the needles there's a real synergy, there's a real connection where you can get both things happening together. And I use a lot of massage because that's very, very important. It feels great, but it really, really is important. So this is just a little bit of a sampling of some of the things that are possible. And I like to do consultations over the phone or with Skype to go in deeper, to find out what you need, to use wonderful herbal remedies and preparations that you can use even if you can't come to see me. So my website is called Brain Body Bliss. And that's what I'm looking for, is brain, body, bliss, really connecting the whole thing together. And so I love this work. It is so fulfilling to see people float out of my treatment room, because I use a lot of verbal inciting to really get them to connect with this light body so that they actually feel better, and they are better. Brain, body, and emotions.
You had mentioned that you do lectures in Paris and all over the country. What are some of the markets that you are interested in doing lectures for?
I can adapt to just about any group. I've worked with veterans, I've worked with young people, teenagers, children, of course, but I've incorporated group sessions with young people, and they can't believe that they can feel high without some kind of drug or drink or something like that. I love to work with women. I've lectured at the Conscious Life Expo and the Health Freedom Expo and the IONS, which was started by the astronaut Edgar Mitchell. One of my lectures was called Health for Sex, Sex for Health. And these are all important things for the body and the mind and the emotions. And this is my CD that I created, which is all about turning on every cell in the body so that you're meditating with your whole body. I call it cellular meditation. There's 2 CDs inside. And then I made a special version for veterans with PTSD. I got funding from Graham Nash of Crosby, Stills and Nash to get this out to veterans so that they can just feel good in their skin and just get the whole body, so that you can feel the little brain in every one of your 70 trillion cells, not just the big brain up here that's so stubborn and constantly chattering, but to get the energy moving throughout the whole body. And it's amazing when that really gets going.
Now, this is great that you were able to come on, my show and talk a little bit about this, but do you have plans to do some segments, maybe some tutorials, a few guidelines, some points, tips
Yes.
About what you do, and what can we expect to see with that online?
I'm planning to do a series of lectures that could be available, as well as, entice people to call or we can do Skype so that I can really work with them individually to really focus on what they need in particular. And of course, I treat patients here in Los Angeles, and I'm available through my website, Brain Body Bliss.
Awesome.
Or Dr. Kathleen R. at brainbodybliss.com.
And you have a YouTube channel and Facebook and all that stuff. Where can we find you on social media?
Well, I haven't worked on my Brain Body Bliss website enough, but Kathleen Rosenblatt, I've kind of spent a lot of time on that one.
All right. Well, thank you very much for stopping by. We're looking forward to seeing more information and content, and what you have to offer is wonderful and beautiful. Thanks for stopping by and kicking it with the pod, brother.
All right.
All right. You can catch me at podbrother.com or stickwiththepodbrother.com for more information on what you just saw and about what we're doing in the future. By all means, stop by and see me, and I will hook you up.